Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. And before we start, we have got a few housekeeping issues. Questions and answers will be done at the end of the session. If you have any questions, you can write them on the Q&A section. And for those who want to listen to this webinar in Arabic, you go on the icon at the bottom of your screen. There is an icon written interpretation. Select Arabic if you want to hear it in Arabic. If you want to hear it in English, just select English and then you hear the whole session in English or Arabic as per your choice. So today we want to look at what we are looking at is we are looking at the identifying value drivers in marine vessel valuation. That is our topic today. My name is Ruka. I'll be your presenter throughout the session. So let's start. Right, in this session, what we are going to do is we have got about 11 sections that we are going to look at. The first one is marine terminology and definitions, professional valuation standards. Third, it's valuation purposes and uses. Number 4, basis of value. 5, stakeholders in marine industry, focusing on the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, roles and responsibilities of the valuer, and general shipping markets overview. And then we'll move on to vessel to be valued, and then units of measurement for marine vessels, and then types of vessels. And then we'll also look at ESG considerations in marine valuation. So first of all, look at the marine terminology and the definition. Marine terminology and definitions. We want to look at the common terminologies which you'll find when you are doing marine valuation. The first one is vessel. A vessel is any floating craft normally designed to operate in maritime navigation, even if it is not for profit, including vessel appurtenances which are necessary for its operation. And then kingdoms, maritime areas. These are the internal areas, territorial sea, contiguous zone, exclusive economic zone, and the continental shelf as defined by law. That will be the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's maritime areas. And then vessel owner is a person who is listed as the owner of a vessel in a ship registry in the kingdom. And then operator, a person who operates a vessel for his own account in his own capacity as owner or a charterer or co-ownership manager. An owner shall be deemed as operator unless established otherwise, right? So an owner can be an operator or cannot be an operator as well, right? Then shipping agent is a person who in his capacity as the agent of the operator carries out activities related to supplying the vessel's needs. And then the flag state is a state to whose flag the vessel is entitled to carry. And then state of registration is a state where a vessel is registered with its ship registry. And then the ship registry is an official register where the information of the ships and their owners are recorded. Then we've got the term valuation. When we are talking of valuation in this webinar, we are saying it is the act or a process of determining an opinion or a conclusion of value of an asset on a stated basis of value at a specified date in compliance with IVS. We normally do when we are doing a machinery and equipment valuation here in Saudi Arabia, including the marine vessels or marine assets, we normally do the valuation of marine equipment, assets, machinery equipment, like any other asset class, is covered by internationally recognized standards published by the International Valuation Standards Council. And the IVSC exists to foster and encourage global professional practice, consistency. And the role of IVSC has been outlined as follows. The International Valuation Council International Valuation Standards Council is an independent, not-for-profit organization committed to advancing quality in the valuation profession. Our objective is to build confidence in public trust in valuation by producing standards and securing their universal adoption and implementation for the valuation of assets across the world. That is the International Valuation Standards, which is effective 31st of January 2025. So this is the current IVS version in use. That is, we are going to call it the IVS 25. So this is what we use here in Saudi Arabia. Taqiim has adopted IVS standards. All valuation carried out within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia must be done in compliance with the current IVS version. That is IVS 2025. And then we have got Taqiim itself has published a code of ethics and conduct for valuation profession. Most importantly, adherence to this code ensures compliance with the laws and regulations as well as the application of standards. So the role of Taqiim is summarized below, that is in terms of the laws of the kingdom. The Saudi Authority of Accredited Valuers, Taqiim, is the entity responsible for setting standards and controls necessary for valuation activities of real estate, economic entities, equipment, movable properties, and the like, in accordance with the Accredited Valuers Law, issued pursuant to Royal Decree number M14, dated 09/07/1433 H. So this is the law that governs the activities, and it empowers Taqiim to regulate the activities or valuation activities within the kingdom. Taqiim aims to promote the valuation profession, improve the proficiency of valuers, set the general provisions for memberships, and organize continuous professional education courses to raise its members to the highest level of practice and international standards. That's why we are currently doing this CPE, so that we continue to promote highest level of practice and international standards. Coming back to valuation of vessels, marine vessels, normally the purpose, mostly the purpose or uses of and uses of valuations, they are just similar, just like any other assets that you find. So marine assets valuation is the same as well. These are the common reasons for marine asset valuation. The first one is financial reporting. When you want to do financial reporting, the owner and the operators can ask for the valuation of their marine fleet. And then secure lending, when they want to get loans, insurance to insure the fleet, and then sell and purchase, that is a transaction support. So in other words, the report supports the transaction that wants to happen in terms of sales and purchases. And then for taxation as well. So when taxes, there are various taxes that can be paid for by marine operators as well. And then basis of comply with IVS 102, basis of value. I think I have mentioned that we are, Taqiim is under the, complies with the IVS 2025. So when selecting the appropriate basis of value coming from the IVS defined basis of value and the non-IVS defined basis of value. So we have two types of basis of value, the ones which are IVS defined and the other ones which are not IVS defined. And importantly, the machine equipment valuer must ensure that the basis of value is appropriate and relevant to the terms and purpose of the valuation. It is a requirement that the source of definition of the basis of value used is fully cited and explained. Yes, it must be fully explained, fully cited, the source where the definition has been taken from. It should be properly and fully cited and explained as well. So these ones, this table provides the IVS defined basis of values. So we've got market value, market rent, we've got investment value or worthy, and then we've got equitable value, and then we've got synergistic value, and then liquidation value. So I know the definitions of value, this is common for us, but the market value, this is the estimated amount for which an asset or a liability should exchange on the valuation date between a willing buyer and a willing seller in an arm's length transaction after proper marketing. Get that, after proper marketing, and where the parties have each acted knowledgeably, prudently, and without compulsion. So that is the proper definition of the market value. So you find sometimes they want to rate it out, so you need market value, sometimes liquidation when they are closing the. So there are some of these, you discover them as you be carrying out some of the marine asset valuations. And then we've got the non-IVS defined basis of value. These ones, this is just part of them. So you find a fair value is normally for IFRS 13, right? IFRS 13, when you are doing financial reporting, And then we have got insurable value, right? And then we've got indemnity value and reinstatement value. These ones, these three, they are related to insurance valuation. So it depends with what your client requires for their insurance valuation. They might ask for insurable value, they might ask for indemnity value, or they might also ask for reinstatement value, depending on the policy. This depends on the policy of the policy of insurance, the insurance policy. So the most important thing when you are doing insurance valuation, you need to understand what are the requirements and what is the basis that the insurer is looking for, right? So it could be insurable value, indemnity value, or a reinstatement. And then we've got scrap value, right? This we've got scrap value. Normally, this is an opinion of amount expressed in terms of money that could be realized for an asset if it were sold for its material content, not for productive use, as of a specific date. So, in other words, when the vessel is retired, you no longer want to use it. But what is left is to just give it to scrap dealers so that they can scavenge it and take the steel and send it elsewhere where it is recycled. So that is the scrap value. So you might be called to do evaluation of that, and then you need to provide scrap value. And then we've got the pre-purchase value. This one, pre-purchase value, is normally used by ship brokers. Ship brokers, these are the ones who normally use that. You find, if you are in their circles, the ship brokers, you'll find talking about that. Normally, before a transaction or is made, or if a purchase is made, sometimes the potential buyer might ask, can you just give us a ballpark figure? How much can we negotiate? How much can we call for? So this is what is normally used for. But you find us as valuers, we don't normally use that because, it's more of like a speculative, it's more like a speculative. It doesn't give a professional and credible opinion of value of the vessel. So in other words, it's something that is used based on the experience of the stockbrokers. They've been dealing with a lot of vessels, so they have got a healthy idea about the likely value of that. So machinery valuers or marine valuers should not use this one, because I advise you not to use this one, because it doesn't reflect the direct picture of reality in terms of the market. So it's, at the end of the day, it might end up not good for you because you can't justify that. So that's very important. So these six are some of the non-IVS defined basis of value that may be adopted when you are doing valuation of a marine vessel. And then we've got the stakeholders in the marine industry. Particularly in Saudi Arabia, we are mainly focused on Saudi Arabia. So we've got 4 stakeholders that we are going to talk about. We've got Transport General Authority, and then we've got Saudi Ports Authority, that is MAWAN. And then we've got the classification societies which are allowed in Saudi Arabia to operate. And then we've got International Maritime Organization. So in other words, any country which operates marine vessels or marine assets, they are bound, or they are members of this organization, the IMO organization. So you find the Transport General Authority. This is the regulatory and legislative authority for the railway, maritime, and land transport industry in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So anything to do with the transport, it is their responsibility. So there are different sectors: the railway, the marine, the land transport. So they are responsible. They want to maintain high standards of quality and safety in each sector of transport sector, in each transport sector. So that's why they do that. And so they use data and the technology to create a safe and efficient transport environment, and promotes investment opportunities to meet the Kingdom's Vision 2030 social economic goals. So that's their responsibility. And then if you look at the Saudi Ports Authority, which is normally called MAWAN, and this one, it's an independent public entity, just like TGA, but this one, its responsibility is just to supervise and develop ports. That's why it's called the Saudi Ports. Its responsibility is to sort of like make sure that they supervise and develop ports in accordance to best international standards as well. So in other words, it wants to make sure that everything is in line with the best international standards. So its responsibility is to regulate and the management of all seaports in the kingdom, except for military ports and ports of economic cities, right? That's anything outside that is their responsibilities. And then we've got classification societies as well. These classification societies or bodies, they were established under International Association of Classification Societies to survey new and existing ships, to award appropriate ratings and seaworthiness in accordance with their published rules and standards. In other words, no marine vessel is allowed to operate in international waters without any certification. So the certification is done through these classification societies, right? They are empowered to survey, to make sure that it is seaworthy, right? Its seaworthiness is assessed before it is allowed to operate in international waters. So every vessel that you see on the international waters, you'll find it is a certificate for that. So in Saudi Arabia, we've got quite a number. If you check on the website of Transport General Authority, there are classification bodies that are within Saudi Arabia. Some of them, they've got all of them that are allowed to operate, they have got an office where they operate to make sure that they take care of the certification and survey, marine survey of all vessels within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as well. So the International Maritime Organization, IMO, it is a United Nations. I think you can see the emblem of UN. So it's it's part of United Nations, specializing agents with a responsibility for the safety and security of shipping and the prevention of maritime and atmospheric pollution by ships. So that's to make sure that everything is safe, the shipping is safe, and the security of shipping industry, and then also to take care of to make sure that they do everything possible to prevent maritime and atmospheric pollution that may be caused by ships when they are on the sea, right? So that is its responsibilities. So if you look at this organization as well, it has done such a good thing where to avoid shipping countries having distinctive regulations, about 170 maritime nations at the moment, about 170 maritime nations that are linked with each other. You know, it created a network. It brings all shipping nations or countries together under the umbrella of IMO so that they work together to ensure the safety and the security of shipping, and then avoidance of prevention of pollution as well. And this IMO organization, they have also created identities for all ships owned by registered ship owners and management firms in order to increase maritime safety and minimize fraud. So every international maritime vessel, it has got a number that it is given. It starts with IMO and then it stretches. So this ship, when it is given that number, the IMO number, that is the number it carries throughout its life, right? No matter the name of a ship can change, but the IMO number will never change. It can change hands. The vessel can change hands from one owner to another management agent, but the IMO number will never change. So it carries it until it goes to the scrapyard. So that's the most important thing that you need to understand of that. And then we also want to look at the roles and responsibilities of the valuer. It's very critical that whenever you are doing this marine vessel valuation, you need to understand your roles and responsibilities in this exercise. Like with any valuation assignment, the role of the valuer is to prepare a valuation in an objective, unbiased, ethical, and competent manner to the client as defined by the scope of work. And the valuer must carry out the valuation in compliance with IVS 100 valuation framework. And it's my advice that you get a copy of the IVS 2025 and make sure you read and you understand it before you engage in any valuation activity. You need to make sure that you read this and understand the IVS 2025. So IVS 100 framework, it sort of like it requires that the valuer must be knowledgeable in both maritime business in general and the valuation methodology to prepare a credible and objective valuation. So never start a valuation of a marine vessel without having knowledge about the dynamics in the marine, in the maritime industry, right? Or the businesses in general. You just need to be knowledgeable about that for you to do evaluation. And you need to understand the methodologies as well that are applied when you are doing evaluation. And 3, the valuer must have an extensive technical knowledge of the commercial shipping, marine transportation systems, the offshore oil industry, and all other specialized type of marine vessels, their capabilities, areas of operation, statutory and regulatory rules, IMO conventions, and the role of classification societies. So this is something that you need to know. You need to have an extensive knowledge about this. You need to be knowledgeable. Don't enter into any valuation assignment of marine assets without getting more detail and knowledge about these aspects of the maritime industry. That will compromise your valuation. And all valuers practicing in Saudi Arabia who provide evaluation must be accredited or registered by the Saudi Authority of Accredited Valuers, Taqeem. It's a requirement. You should not operate without this. It's against the laws of the kingdom. Are required to comply with the current international valuation standards. Our current valuation standard is IVS 2025 and the Taqeem's laws and regulations as well. So this is very, very critical. All valuers must be aware that where a statement of compliance is made, that evaluation will be or has been undertaken in accordance with the IVS. It is implicit that the valuation has been prepared in compliance with all relevant standards issued by the IVSC. So it's very, very important, since Taqeem under Saudi Arabia has adopted IVS. Once you say you have prepared, you have declared yourself, you have made a statement of compliance, you are required to comply with all general standards and all asset standards as well that are relevant to the assignment that we are doing. So that is very, very important. And take note that Taqeem requires us also to upload all our reports so that quality checks can be done regularly. So it's a requirement as well. And lastly, as the sole regulator authority in Saudi Arabia, Taqeem has a responsibility to monitor and seek assurance of compliance by its members with the international valuation standards and its regulations. It has the power under the accredited valuers law to seek information from members. So here and there, you might be called to provide any information that might be required. Sometimes it could be a work file of any assignment that you have done. So make sure you've got your work file and provide or extra information when it is required as well. So that is very, very important. That is very, very critical as well. So another point, it is the requirement that the valuer must ensure that the intended recipients of the valuation advice understand what is to be provided and any limitations on its use before it is finalized and reported. That is very, very important. You need to understand the requirements of as well of the recipients of the valuation. Remember, when you provide the evaluation report, it is not for you, it is for the clients and the users as well. And the report must be sufficient to communicate to the intended users the scope of the evaluation assignment and the work performed and the conclusions reached as well. It's very, very critical because you need to effectively communicate with your client and the intended user so that they really understand how you have done, how you have reached your conclusions as well. In carrying out a valuation assignment, the valuer shall be objective, impartial, honest, and independent. This is a requirement, it's an expectation that every valuer should be objective, should be honest, and independent. There is no room for bias, right? There shall be no room for bias or a conflict of interest or undue influence of others to override professional judgment of the valuer as well. So the above expectation is in line with the requirements Code of Ethics and Conduct for Valuation Profession. All these documents, you can find them on our website, on Taqiim website, the Code of Ethics and Conduct for Valuation Profession, accredited as Valuers Law, IVS 2025, it is there. All these copies, you can find them in English or Arabic as well. Then now what we want to do is we want to look at the shipping market. We want to look at the general shipping markets overview. So as a valuer, when you are doing marine vessel valuation, you need to understand you have an overview of the shipping markets, how they are like. So the shipping markets are considered very unpredictable because their conditions are ever unexpectedly, implicably changing. Anytime, as the day goes, things can change. I think you know what is happening every day. Things are changing. Remember with COVID, who was expecting COVID? Nobody was expecting COVID. And a lot of things, the movement of oil, prices of oil up and down, the economy, everything. And the geopolitical scenario as well. A lot of crises can happen. So you need to make sure that you have, you know what is happening in terms of the shipping industry or the shipping markets. The valuer must also always carefully study the market cycles in order to come up with a proper valuation conclusions. There are moments where there are high rates or charter rates, and even the prices of ships or values of ships, there are moments where they are high, and then there are moments where they are low. And you should know also the supply and demand of shipping services as well, and even the supply of marine vessel in the industry. It is also crucial that the valuer has a deep understanding of shipping markets when carrying out valuation of maritime vessels. The volatile nature of the market may compel the valuer to revisit the valuation results before finalizing the assignment. Maybe in the middle, if we are carrying out a huge assignment on marine vessel valuation, in the middle, things might change. So you need to keep abreast of what is happening in the market. Since 2022 to date, the shipping markets are defined by strong freight rates and high second-hand prices as well. The freight rates, right, they have been going up and up as well. So you need to keep and checking the trend of the freight rates and also of the second-hand prices of marine vessels as well. In several of the major vessel sectors, supply is growing faster than the demand, which is weakening the market fundamentals as well. So when you are looking at the general shipping markets overview, what you need to do is you need to understand certain sections of the market, particularly what you need to look at the influence of revenue on vessel prices as well. The revenue, when the revenue is fluctuating, so is the vessel prices as well. So this normally happens. You need to always read around, get to know the sources so that you get to understand. As you can see, sometimes like there is a pictorial graph that is showing here it is showing the relationship between rates and the prices as well, right? As you can see, if you look at in 2000, there was a sharp increase, right, in the rates, and so the prices or the values of vessels is also moved up as well. So when there is a high, when we are experiencing high rates, it means the revenue is increasing. It pushes also the demand for second-hand vessels. As a result, you find more vessels, the values of vessel going up as well. So these are some of the things that you need to understand, the relationship between the revenue and the vessels and the vessel prices as well. So you find rates sometimes they even go as much. This is the index on the right from 085 170 255 and 340. These are indexes, and on the this is on the right. On the left, we've got the prices, the rates, the freight rates per day, right? The freight rates per day. So these are the freight rates that you find per day. You know, the freight rates, the shipping services charged in terms of rates per day. So these are the ones. So as you can see, I think in 2000 towards 2009, the rates almost get to around 50,000. And then it fell down and almost like fluctuating a little bit, but at a lower rate until in 2022, the rates, they also moved up. They were almost getting to the prices of they were almost around one in 22, around 150 something, 153, 154 there. That's where you find the rates were at that time. So they are always fluctuating. And another thing is to look at the supply side of of the market as well. You need to understand the supply side of the market as well. It's very, very important that you get to know that, you look at the order book to fleet ratio, right? You find I've got a graph to illustrate that. We've got the order book to fleet ratio. As you can see, it's fluctuating as well. It goes up, the order book, and that is when we are talking of the order book, is the demand or the supply of vessels. When you find shipping yards, they've got an order book. In other words, there is a demand. When you find there is an increase in the orders for new vessels and versus the fleet that are within the market as well. So that is the side that you look at. If you look at in 2020, you can see that there was a huge drop, right? Because of the contracting activities. Because the activities, if you look at our graph at the top, this is the period where the freight rates were low. So it had an impact as well on the order book as well, for new vessels as well. And as well as, the demand for freight services as well. So that's the situation. And then you can go also on the demand side. You have to look at the demand side as well. The demand side as well. Here you are looking at particularly if you look at the period after COVID from 2020 up to now, you see that crude and product tankers were really in their extraordinary earnings season, particularly in 2023. You find in 2023, that's where you find the rates were going up on the diagram that we talked about, the rates and the values. You find the rates were going up. That's the season where they were earning extraordinarily, and at the same time there was a demand for fleets, right? The demand for fleets as well, and so that was really required, in other words, to carry the oil and other products as well. So you need to understand, to get to know, get information. There are a lot of sources like the ones that are on the where I got this information, like Clarksons and Danish Ship Finance. They provide useful information as well. And also the impact of sustainable fuel on shipping industry as well. The shipping industry is not left out as well in the sustainable era that we are getting on. Right now, they are trying to introduce sustainable fuels in the shipping sector, right? It's something that is trying to be implemented to ensure that they've got sustainable fuels which emit less carbon dioxide and nitrogen oxide as well. So the biggest expense, because the biggest expense involved in operating a ship is the fuel. Fuel is it takes a chunk of the expenses of a ship, of a vessel. So in other words, so it is necessary therefore to reduce the prices differential between the current fuel that we have and the alternative fuel that is being introduced. If the sustainable fuel is expensive, so it means the operators will keep on relying on the conventional fuels. So measures are being put in place right now to make sure that the sustainable fuel is cheaper, it is affordable, to ensure that it can be embraced in the industry. Some countries have already introduced carbon tax to make sure that they make all the operators and owners of vessel go to sustainable fuel, try to use sustainable fuel. So this is something that is being campaigned for in this industry, to ensure that sustainability continues as well. So it takes time. It takes time. So you find there are a lot of activities, a lot of changes that need to be done on the existing vessels that are there, and on the new vessels that are being built. They need as also to rely on the sustainable fuel or alternative fuel, as it is said in the industry. And then another thing is to look at the market developments in the industry as well. The market developments in the industry as well. We have two major shipping sectors that you will find in the industry. We have got the dry and wet bulk sectors. The dry bulk shipping sector, it involves the shipping of goods and services in containers, right? In containers. So, and then the other ones, the wet one, that is which also including the shipping of closed containers and pumped into, in other words, liquid products. They are carried by vessels as well, by tankers, you might say tankers as well. So all these, you need to, they've got different operation and different requirements as well. So you need to get to know that as well. When we are dealing with we have looked at the general shipping markets. We also want to look at the vessel markets as well. Consider the relevant vessel categories listed below when researching on marine vessel. It depends with what kind of vessel you are dealing with. If you are dealing with container vessel, you need to research your valuation inputs from the container vessel market. And if you are doing dry bulk vessels as well, we've got crude tankers, and then we've got product tankers, right? Product tankers, when this is the processed crude oil, now like petrol and other liquid chemicals. And then we've got LPG, that is the gas carriers as well. So you need to understand whichever market you are dealing with, you need to get information on how they are running and how they are operating as well. So in container vessel markets, you need to look at the cycle, the market cycle, based on the relationship between the freight rates and the second-hand vessel price. So demands, you need to make sure that everything is taken care of as well. There was an interruption of internet. I think we are back. Let me share my, right. Okay, I lost my, I think you can see me now. You can see my screen. So as you can see here, we are looking at the according to their age distribution as well, according to their age distribution as well. So in this whole world, these are the numbers of ships that you find as well in this, depending on the age. It could be 0 to 5. You look at the types and of the ship that we are talking about. We've got the capsize, the panel marks, the hand marks, and the hand size, and also at the order book as well. So you can see which fleets are available in terms of the dead weight, right? These are marked in terms of the dead weight as well. So these are some of the information that you need to get when you are dealing with these kind of markets. So the relationship with between the rates and the price of second-hand second-hand vessels as well. So moving on, we've got information. There are a lot of sources. This is one of the sources that you can find. There's another source called vessels value, or you can see they provide information of different kinds of ship. Here we have got tankers, we have got bulkers. Bulkers, these are dry bulk vessels, and then container vessels. And their sizes or their categories. We've got VLCC, this is the very large crude containers. And then we've got the Swiss and Afra. And then we've got the long range one and the medium range. So you can see according to their ages, you see the movement. The movement relates to the age, right? To the age of the vessels. If you look at a 10-year, it is now, there is a movement up or a down movement. In the case of VLCs, there is a downward movement. There is a downward movement as well. So this information is very important. This information is very critical, right? This is very, very critical as well. Right, looking at the Saudi market vessel, we have looked at the general shipping markets, and we have looked at the vessel markets. And you also need to look at the locality where you are doing the valuation, the jurisdiction where you are doing the valuation of a marine vessel, like Saudi marine vessel market, although it is still in its infancy, when compared to more developed shipping nations, Saudi Arabia is a growing market for marine vessels, right? And the upgrading of marine infrastructure, defense investment, port developments, and growth of commercial and naval vessels as well as are all contributing to the Arabia. There is a demand because of the developments of ports as well. The ports are being developed. There's an infrastructure that is developing. We have got the diversification of the economy of Saudi Arabia as well. So it is promoting as well the development of a more resilient marine ecosystem as well. So this is very, very important to understand the market of vessels. So there is a high demand because of a lot of activities that are happening, you know. So as a result, so there is I can say there is a demand. But however, what you need to know is that Saudi Arabia is primarily a market for buying and operating vessels. They don't have shipbuilders, a lot of shipbuilders here in Saudi Arabia, which can match the demand, the local demand. So they rely heavily on foreign shipbuilders, especially from China, South Korea, Europe, to meet its expanding fleet as well. So this is the vessel scenario. We also want to look at the key players in the marine industry. Who are the key players? Here I've got information on the 5 Saudi Arabian owners who are operating marine vessels. They own and operate the vessels as well. We've got the Bahir. This is the largest, right? This is the largest ship owner and operating. It is on record that it has about 98 vessels that it is operating. 98 vessels that it is operating at the moment. 98 vessels that is operating. And then we have got Ades International. It's another one. This one, it is mostly, it is in the mobile offshore drilling units. It has got mobile offshore drilling units. So it has got specialized vessels that it owns and operates. It is mostly involved in the drilling of oil and gas wells. So that's what it is. That is its focus. But in terms of the number of vessels, it has got quite a number. This one, in terms of total value, it is close to almost $1 billion. It's close to $1 billion, right? So, and then we've got Bihari International. This one, it has got LPG carriers and tankers as well, and it also have it has also have like a offshore special vessels, right? It has also have offshore special vessels as well that it operates as well, right? Offshore special vessels. These ones they are used for like exploration in the oil fields, and it is also used in the research and the development as well in the oil and gas industries, those kind of vessels. And then we've got Arabian Drilling Company as well. It has onshore and offshore rigs. And then we have got Rawab Holdings. This one is got also the it has also the offshore special vessels as well, and it has also the offshore construction vessels as well. So it is mostly involved in the oil and gas industry. Most of their vessels, they are involved in the oil and gas industry. So who knows, one day you might be asked by one of these companies to do the valuation of their vessels for insurance or for financial reporting purposes as well. So the Middle East marine vessel market as well, this is propelled or driven by regional strategic maritime position, the energy exports, and major infrastructure development projects that are happening all over in Middle East. So Middle East has got a major infrastructure and development projects that they have. So let's look at the type of marine vessels that you can see. We've got container vessels, because they move goods from the east, from Asia to Middle East, and from Europe to Middle East, Africa to Middle East. So they carry containers. There are containers moving across the globe. And then we've got very large crude carriers, VLCCs, and these ones, they carry the crude oil from Middle East to different locations all over the world. And then we've got offshore support vessels. Yes, we have a lot of them because of the oil drilling in the offshore areas as well. And then we've got major market drivers, which in other words push the demand for marine vessels. The energy sector, there's a lot of oil which is supplied all over the world. So there is need for more vessels to carry the crude oil. And then infrastructural developments as well. It allows the transportation of infrastructure material that is used for the development of infrastructure material as well. And then we've got some, Middle East is a strategic location as well, because it has a lot of distribution centers of different goods and services as well. So that pushes the demand for marine vessels as well. And then the Vision 2030 projects as well. We have got the NEOM. It also pushes the demand for marine vessels as well there because of the activities that are happening and the developments that are happening. And even at the end of you find the people will need yachts, will need cruise ships to allow people to move to those destinations from all over the world as well. So that is very, very important and very critical as well. So we are also going to look at the vessel to be valued. It is important to understand, to have knowledgeable, to inspect the asset that you are going to value and to have information about that. It is proper that the valuer identifies and describe accurately the vessel in the valuation. So most of the information will be provided by the owners in terms of they have got the records and certificates of that. So most of the information you get from them. You also need to know the current all the information here these days because of internet. You can find the information. What you need is the IMO number of the vessel. You can go on internet and you can search. There are a lot of websites. They provide all the information, details, and then you can verify with the information that you get from your client or from the owner or operator of the vessel. So that information you have to get to verify it or to avoid misunderstanding and all that. So these are some of the information that you need: the name of the vessel, the type of the vessel. Is it a dry bulk carrier? Is it a crude oil carrier? Is it a tanker? Or is it an offshore support vessel? All that you need to know. Is it a livestock vessel? Yes, that carries livestock. So you need to know the type, and also you need to know the subtype. If we are looking at the tankers, they are different. We've got VLC, we've got long range, we've got medium range vessels. Those are subtitles as well, right? And then you need to know the year and the location of build, which year it was built and where. Was it built in China, South Korea, in Germany? That information is vital. The vessel builder as well. You need to know who constructed that and the owner as well. The class, we have talked about the classes, right? The classification. So you need to know the class of that as well. And the flag, the country where it is operating, under where it is regulated. And then the IMO number, it is very important. You need to know the dimensions of the vessel, the capacity of the vessel, the special equipment which comes with that. Some they carry cranes with them when they are moving. So it's very important to know that as well. And then status of the vessel as well. Is it in service or laid up? And the day of the last dry dock. All those information pertaining the operations of the vessel. That information you are provided by the records and documents from the owner. Like what I said in area on, that the name of the vessel may be changed upon being traded to another buyer, but the IMO number will never change. It will never change with ownership. It will remain the same throughout the life of the ship. So these are the most important dimensions that you need to know on a vessel. The length overall, right? Sometimes it is written as LOA. So you need to know this is the overall length from all extremes, from one extreme to another. So you need to know that. And then we've got the beam. Sometimes it is called molded beam. this is measured at the midship section, right? If you look at this graph, sorry, on the picture below, you see that there is a beam, right, on this cross section of a vessel. This is a cross section of a vessel. You see the more, so this is, sometimes we just call it width. This is the width of the ship. And then we've got the molded depth, right? Molded depth, this is the height. We can call it a height, right? This is the height from the baseline, right? The baseline of the ship up to the top parts, right? Of the ship. So, and then we've got the draft, molded draft, known as the draft, is the distance from the bottom of the Kelly. That is the middle part, right? The middle part of the at the bottom. At the bottom, the ship is not flat. It is like it has got a shape like a beveled shape, right? So the tip, the edge under the ship, that is called the keel, right? So from there up to the water level, right, up to the water level, that is what is called as the draft. Then there are certain units that we also need to know, the units of measurement for marine vessels, the terms identified on the vessel's documents and used for the vessel's registration fees, ports, geo, safety, and manning regulations. So in the documents, there are certain terms or units of measurements that are used. So you need to understand them and you need to know them. Especially when you are dealing with a ship, you need these ones, these 5 items. They are very important. These items, they are very important. Without them, it's very difficult to do evaluation. The gross tonnage is an absolute measurement of the total cubic interior of a vessel in tons of cubic feet, right? In tons of cubic feet. So the gross tonnage, you need to know that, right? And then the net tonnage as well. The net tonnage as well. It's produced by a formula which is a function of the molded volume of all cargo space of the ship, right? And it is similar measurement to payload capacity, right? Payload capacity, when we are saying a vehicle is a 2-ton, 20-ton, it's almost the same. That is the net tonnage shall not be taken as less than 30% of the gross tonnage. Some people, they've got some rule of thumb or some some assertions that they made that it's less than 30 tons. It's not always less than 30 tons of the 30% of the gross. So you need to understand that. So all this information is provided in the International Convention of Tonnage Measurement of Ship 1969. You can get a document. That document is available on internet. If you search it, you can find it and download it and read more about the gross tonnage and the net tonnage. And then we've got the light displacement, is the weight of the empty vessel, including the machinery and equipment, but exclude the fuel or cargo. So when the vessel is empty, so the light displacement, that is the weight, the total weight of an empty vessel without fuel or cargo, right? This one is used by, normally it's used by people, by scrap dealers when they want to buy a scrap vessel for scrapping. Those people at the scrapyard, they want to know the light displacement. So if you are doing evaluation and your client requires a scrap value, you need to know the light displacement of the ship, right? And then load displacement is the total weight of the vessel loaded to its deepest legal loaded draft as per Pilmsol mark or load line. The vessel is measured, is said to be loaded to its mark, right? There is a mark where when the ship is loaded, the water level should get to that mark. If it exceeds, it means it's overloaded. If it is close, if it is under the mark, that load line or the films or mark, it means it is under load. So there is a mark which shows the amount of load that it has. And it is a requirement that every ship has got a load line. And then there's the dead weight, a dead weight tonnage, a dead weight tonnage. This is the difference between load displacement and light displacement, right? This is the weight of the paying load. So the difference between is the cargo that you have put in the ship. So the difference between an empty and a loaded ship. A loaded ship, when a ship is loaded, what is the tonnage? Right, that is the load displacement. When the ship is light, without load, it is called light displacement, the tonnage that you get. So get to know that because it's very, very important. Now we are going to look at types of ship, types and uses of ship. We still have a lot of time. This webinar deals with the following. There are lots of types, but we are going to zero in on these four: the bulk carriers and tankers and container carriers as well, and then specialized vessels that we are going to look at. So the minimum information required when you are writing a specification writing, when you are doing evaluation, the information that should not be missed are these ones: the name of the vessel and the IMO number, the year of build, right? And the type. When we are talking of bulk carriers, there are different types: the mini bulk carrier, the capsize, a lot of types that you'll find in the. And then we need to look at the overall length as well, and then molded breadth and molded depth, and the draft as well. It's very important to know that. And the gross tonnage and the dead tonnage, the dead weight tonnage as well. So this information is very, very important, especially when you are doing a market approach. When you are using market approach, you can get a similar ship, but it's different. It is it's the same type, it's the same subtype, but it might be different in terms of length. It might be different in terms of tonnage. So you can make some adjustments using these. These can be elements of adjustment factors for you as well. So the profile of the bulk carrier, most of the time it has got compartments which are called holds, right? This one has got about 7. So these are compartments where the cargo is placed. It can be wheat, it can be maize, it can be whatever product, it can be coal. They put them in this. So each carries a different tonnage. So this is what you need to understand, what you need to know. When you are doing bulk carriers, they might have same size, they might be same sizes, but they have got different holds, right? Different holds as well. So you need to know how many cargo holds do they have. And then let's look at tankers. We have got tankers, and tankers, these, most of them, they are very large, right? They are very, very large. We've got different subtypes: short range, medium range, Panamax, Aframax, Swissmax, VLCC, ULCC, all these. They've got different deadweights, right? They've got different deadweights as it is specified. And each one is called based on the deadweight and the type. It depends with the way it is used, right? You find short range, they are just used, they are for general uses, right? In the coastal waters, normally to move cargo from one port to another within the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we can say. And then we have got the handy ones because they are handy, like sometimes they are called handy carriers as well, or handy size carriers. And then we have got the Panamax. The Panamax is known as Panamax. This is the raw long range. It is known because it passes through. It has got the capacity to pass through the Panama Canal, right? There are certain ones which cannot pass through because they are huge in terms of the requirements. They can meet the requirements to pass through the Panama Canal. So they cannot go through the Panama Canal. So, and then we've got the long range, like the Aframax. It's not Aframax. It doesn't mean it's African, no. Aframax, it's another type, the long range. These ones, they go through a lot. And then there's the Swissmax. It passes through the Suez Canal that is in Egypt. There, it has got the capacity to pass through that. So all these are different types for different uses, right? For different types and different uses. And they fall within the different ranges of the deadweight as well. So these ones, they carry crude oil, petroleum products, and chemicals as well. They carry chemicals as well. And then this is their profile as well. They've got different profiles. In their profiles, they have different compartments, right? They have different compartments or tanks. You can say different tanks. One thing about tankers, they've got double hull tankers. These days, they are double hull tankers. In other words, they are double casing. They've got a double casing. Why? To prevent spillage in the case of an incident. If there is an incident, the outer skin can be damaged, but the inner skin cannot be damaged, or lining cannot be damaged. The outer lining can be damaged, but the inner lining cannot be damaged. So in other words, it helps to reduce such kind of spillage because, for example, a VLCC, if it gets damaged or if it hits something like a coral or a rock or whatever it get in contact with, then the shell is damaged and then oil spill, it's inevitable. Then these are the information that you need to know as well. It's almost the same thing. I think, yes, it's almost the same thing. You just need to know the subtype. So these ones, you can use them when you are doing market approaches, adjustment factors as well. So these are, then we've got special tanker vessels. These are special tanker vessels. The KLNG tankers. This is the gas that they are carrying, the liquefied gas, natural gas, the liquefied natural gas that they carry. So as you can see, it has got about 3 tanks, right? Four tanks for this one. And then we've got the chemical vessel, right? This is the chemical vessel or chemical tanker as well. Then we've got the container carriers. They are also known as box ship or box vessels because they carry containers, right? And move cargo in intermodular trailer containers. These containers, when they get to the port, they are offloaded and put on trucks. on trailers and then they move, right? So the containers, they are in two sizes. There's a 20-foot standard container, right? So TEU, if you find TEU, it means 20-foot equivalent unit, right? 20-foot equivalent. These are short containers. We say short containers. The long ones, they are 40-foot size, right? 40-foot standard containers, right? So these are two types. So they are determined, the size of the carriers, they are determined by the carrying capacity of the vessels, right? The table below shows the container carrier vessels. As you can see, these are subtypes. Feedermax, it carries 2,000, from 2001 to 3,000. From 3001, this is in Panamax, post Panamax, new Panamax. They carry different types of, right? So it has got a capacity, like in Feedermax, it has a capacity to carry almost 2,000 to 3,000 containers, right? The 20-foot, right? The 20-foot containers, they are carried by this one as well. And then we've got the ultra large crude vessel. The ultra large, sorry, it was the ultra large container. It was supposed to be container vessel. My mistake, it's container vessel, ultra large container vessel, not crude vessel. These are the types of container vessel. Look at the numbers. You can see the numbers of containers within this, right? And these are the type, right? These are the type. Then information that might be needed. We have talked about the capacity in terms of TEUs, right? TEUs. So this is the information that you need. So when you are comparing your comparables, you can look at the number of TEUs that it carries. Is it a 2,000 TEU? Is it a 14,000 TEUs? Then you can work out your comparables. This is very vital information. And then container vessels, other factors that might affect on the value of container vessels include the value, they include the vessels specifics, such as the age. You need to know the age. You need to know the speed in knots, right? You need to know the cargo gear. The cargo gear, these are the lifts, right? The lifts that are the cranes. How many cranes does it have? Does it have cranes or it doesn't have a crane? Because there are certain containers without cranes. So they rely on port cranes. And then there are some which have got the cargo cranes as well. And the number of reefer plugs as well. Some of them, they carry refrigerated containers. So those refrigerated containers, they need plugs, right? They need plugs as well. And then we've got the market overview of the investment and the new building of the container vessel. We need also to get to know, like what we have said, we have looked at the general shipping and the vessel market. This is where this is where this information is required. This is when this information is required. And then we've got, you need to know the container market outlook as well. Like what I said, the market, the vessel market or the shipping market is very volatile. It changes anytime, right? So you need to keep always abreast of the changes or the developments that are happening in the industry. And then we also have this information on specialized vessels. specialized vessels. High specialized vessels are minority in the maritime industry and are designed to carry peculiar cargo, right? Specialized. So these are some of the examples of specialized cargo. Like the examples we have got in refrigerated vessels, the reefers, they are called reefers. And then we've got livestock carriers, and then we've got vehicle carriers, and then we've got cruise ships, and then we've got heavy cargo vessels, and then we've got timber carriers, and then we've got offshore vessels designed for operational use such as tugboats, cable layers, crane vessels, research vessels, platform vessels, supply vessels, and of oil exploration and drilling vessels, right? So these are some of the specialized vessels. So a refrigerated vessel, you might come across this one in your valuation industry. So these ones, they hold dairy products and other horticultural products like flowers and all those things. They are carried by these kind of vessels. And just like any, you need to know the capacity in terms of TEUs because it carries containers, right? It carries containers, boxes that are refrigerated, operated, right? So you need to know the type of this. Is it a refrigerator container type or it has got a side door? There are some with a side door where you open and you enter into the room or into the compartments. So you need to know the type of that. And all other information, just like any other vessel, the dead weight, the gross weight, the travel, the depth, the breadth, and the length. These are common things that are required on any vessel. Then the valuer must take cognizance of the following factors that may affect the value of reefer vessel. The design of the reefer, is it a refrigerated container or it's a side door reefer vessel, right? And then the reefer fleet outlook, including the new build order book, right? How many are being, are being on the order book? How many are being built at the moment? It takes time, it takes years to build a ship. So they are placed on an order book. So the order book, most of the researchers in the shipping industry, they know and they have the information. Refrigerated container demand outlook as well. You need to look at the demand. Is there any demand? A lot of countries, they import meat and export meat. So they require this kind. And then we've got vehicle carriers. Vehicle carriers, they are mostly designed to carry vehicles. Any type of winged vehicle they can carry, right? And there are two types that you find. Most of they are normally called RORO, meaning row on and row off. They row on and row off, right? So that's why they are called ROROs, right? And their vehicles are loaded and uploaded by means of a built-in ramp placed either on the front, back, or on the side, right? Front, back, or on the sides of the vessel, right? So there are two types of ROROs or RORO vessels and are exclusively used to carry all kinds of vehicles, pure carrier vehicles, they carry those small vehicles, those small cars, pure car carriers. They carry all those small vehicles. And then there's another one called pure truck and car carriers. Now it is carrying those trucks, those trucks because of their height. So in other words, it has decks within it which are shifted to accommodate the size, the height of this. But in the case of a carrier, it doesn't have shelves which can be adjusted. So it carries a fixed number, right? But this one is flexible. It can adjust its decks to accommodate those cars with which are higher in height. Then this is the information that you need to know. So you need to know, it's all similar in terms of the specification, but the outstanding one is the maximum number of decks. The maximum number of decks. How many decks does it have? So when you are doing your comparison, you need to know, if you are valuing the roll, you need to know that information. It's very, very important. It's very, very crucial to know that kind of information, right? It's very, very important and crucial to know that kind of information. The valuer must take cognizance of the following factors that may influence the value of ro-ro vessel. Variation in design of the ro-ro vessel. Is it a PCC or is it a PCTC, right? Or is it ro packs? Ro packs it carries vehicles and it carries passengers as well. So it's called a ro packs. And then there's a ro-lo, right? It rolls on and lifts up. In other words, it carries. It opens and carries the vehicle, right? It has got a lifting capacity facility. And then con row, it carries cars and also it carries containers as well. So it has got a provision to carry containers as well. It carries, whilst it is carrying cars, it is also carrying containers at the same time. So role of fleet outlook include the new building order books. You need to know that as well. It's very, very important to know, to have an understanding of the market of the role fleet. And then we've got, while the row-on, row-off vessels have lane meters or vehicle counts, and often multiple decks, access may differ. The vessel may have one or two side ramps or a stern and side ramp, or it can have angle stern ramp right at the side of the other part of the stern. That is the back of the ramp, right? Then the difference is that the side ramp or an angle stern ramp allows the ship to more to or dock in the normal sideway fashion. With the only stern ramp, the stern of the ship must be backed in order into the deck, right? Usually custom built docks reduce the resale possibility of such a kind of ship. So the stern type, those with the stern ramps, they are very difficult to maneuver and they require a lot of attention. So you find it's very difficult to sell that one rather than selling a side ramp. Then lastly, we want to look at the ESG consideration in marine vessel valuation. This is a new section that was introduced by IVS. You only find it in IVS 2025. So it's now a requirement, it's now an expectation where it is relevant to determine the ESG consideration. The valuer must be knowledgeable. The valuers must be knowledgeable about that. So the valuer should be aware of the relevant legislation and frameworks in relation to the environmental, social, and governance factors impacting evaluation. What are ESG? What is ESG? What do you know about ESG? This is the criteria that together establish a framework for assessing the impact of sustainability, ethical practice, financial performance, or operations of a company, an asset, or a liability, right? So you want to see how that asset is impacting the environment, how it is impacting the society, the community, and how it is impacting the growth of the business wise, the ethical practice. Do the ethical practice of that company influence, impact the community? Does it impact does it have any effect on the sustainable economy, or does it have any impact on the sustainability issues? So it's very, very important to know that. So ESG considerations, you find them on IVS 104, data and input appendix. That's where you find. So if you look at in the International Valuation Standard, the IVS 2025, what it has given examples which are sort of like generic, right? Which are almost generic. They try to cover all the asset types, the business types, the real estate, plant and equipment, intangible assets, and all those. They are covered by the same, by the IVS. So it's generic. But now I see it fits that we should focus on the ESG consideration pertaining marine valuation, right? Marine asset valuation or marine vessel valuation. So according to the IVS, the section A10 of the appendix, the first paragraph of the A10.01, the impact of significant ESG factors should be considered in determining the value of a company, asset, or liability. In our case, it's an asset. So we do that consideration to determine the value. We want to see how it is impacting the value of an asset, right? And paragraph 10.2, ESG factors may impact evaluation both from a qualitative and quantitative perspective, and pose risk or opportunities that should be considered. And then ESG factors and ESG regulatory environment should be considered in valuation to the extent that they are measurable and would be considered reasonable by the valuer applying professional judgment. So it requires professional judgment on your part to determine, is it necessary to look at that? And then significant ESG factors associated with the value of an asset should be considered as part of the data and input selection process. When you are looking at the factors affecting the value of the asset that you are valuing, you need to look at ESG factors. Are there any ESG factors impacting that value of the asset? So IVS 300 plant equipment and infrastructure, paragraph 100 100.06, it spells out what you are expected of, right? So we are looking at the environmental factors that are really related to the shipping industry. Oh, my apologies. I should have said marine, right? So you need to look at the emission and decarbonization. At emission and decarbonization, that is the most important thing, emission and decarbonization as well. So under emission and decarbonization, that is the environmental factor that you need to look at. There are regulatory pressures, right? There are regulatory pressures. For example, like a container ship must comply with IMO regulations, right? There are IMO regulations such as carbon intensity indicator. It should be rated. Is it A? Is it B? Is it C? Which range is it? So the level, the rating, the carbon intensity indicator, the rating, that particular ship that you are following, it has got an impact on the value at the end of the process. So you need to make sure that you really understand that, right? Particularly like ships rated D or E for 3 years face mandatory corrective action. These ones, they need to be attended to because they are weak in terms of the carbon intensity indicators. So in other words, they've got a huge impact. So you find when you are going to certain ports, like in EU ports, European Union ports, you need to, you might face some challenges. So the operators normally don't want to have a limitation of the ports that they can move. So some ports, like the ships with the D and E carbon intensity indicators, they normally avoid certain areas or certain ports where they might be found wanting in terms of the impact that they cause, right? And then we go on to look at fuel choices as well. Fuel choices, most ships, they use heavy fuel oil, right? Which causes a lot of pollution. But newer vessels that we have right now, that are being manufactured or that are being constructed, they've got dual fuel systems, right? They sometimes use LNG gas, or sometimes they are using methanol or ammonia. So they mix different types of fuel. So these ones are much rated, highly rated, unlike those which use the conventional fuel, right? These ammonia, LNG gas, these are called alternative fuels. If they are using alternative fuels, they command a high value. And then looking at the technology adoption as well, old vessels, they are not fuel efficient. They don't have fuel efficient technologies like the lubrication systems, waste heat recovery, to reduce emission, to help reduce emission. So because of that, you find they are impacted. Their value is impacted as well. So that is the factors that you need to check whenever you are doing a marine vessel. Does it comply with the requirements, right? Does it comply with the requirements? And then we go on to fuel efficiency, the energy efficiency, right? The energy efficiency, we have got EEDI. EEDI, that is Energy Efficiency Design Index. That one, it improves the technical performance of new build ship. The ships that are being built these days, they are more efficient in terms of fuel consumption, right? Energy use, they are more efficient. So they comply. If they comply to the expectations of the current regulations, so they command a high value. And then those which are existing, the energy efficiency existing ships indexes also improve. Some of them, they've been sort of like they've been certified after some modifications that have been done to them, so that they become better and give low emission. So those are things that they need to comply with. So they need to check and they need to see if they have got the certification and the rating as well that they have. So that is very, very important. A valuer must know that these compliance, are they complying to EEDI or EE? Then we've got energy pollution, energy and waste and pollution management, the ballaster. Do they have the water ballaster and then waste handling facilities as well? Then we've got biodiversity protection, biofouling, that is the caring of biological things attached to the body of the ship. So these ones, they need to make sure that they follow the regulation in terms of biofueling and the noise pollution as well. How are they in terms of energy pollution, right? So this, and then let's look at the social factors as well. Social factors, we are looking at crew welfare. Are they complying to maritime labor convention standards? And then training, are they being trained, given adequate training? The crew members, are they properly trained and provided the necessary training? And then you look at the safety standards, cargo risk, navigation and safety as well. Those are very, very important to make sure that the cargo is secured, particularly when you are dealing with the container ship as well. It's very, very important when you're dealing with container ships. And then the navigation safeties as well. Is it autonomous, or do they have autonomous or semi-autonomous systems when they are navigating as well? And then the community impact, their relationship. Are the ships being detained at the ports because they have failed to follow certain requirements? All those things, they need to be taken into account of as well. And then we've got governance issues as well. Governance issues, they are very, very important. The regulatory compliance and the reporting, are they transparent? Do they have all the necessary certification? Risk management as well. You are looking at the supply chain scrutiny, right? They are scrutinizing the supply chain. Are there anything that is not in line of the requirements, like banker providers and all those things as well? Then we've got geopolitical risks as well, right? Yes, you need to look at that type of risk that are related to a ship, that are related to a ship as well, right? And then corporate governance, ethical practices. Yes, that is very, very important as well. Ethical practices, anti-corruption policies, bribery scandals, and all those things damage reputation of the ship. So that needs to be considered as well. So these are some of the factors that you need to consider when it comes to ESG factors in the evaluation of marine vessels. However, it's very important. When you are dealing with this kind of ESG consideration, it involves having a structured framework that assigned measurable, right? Measurable metrics to each component. So each component should be measurable, right? So there are certain frameworks, but this is not the subject of this webinar. Maybe at a later stage, we shall provide a webinar where we'll discuss how you can come up with the measurable matrix based on the frameworks that are available currently. So these are some of the things. I think I am done for now. So we can take one or two questions. I'm going to read some of the comments, some of the questions from the chat box, from the Q&A box. Someone is saying, I'm interested in the ship valuation. How do I start in this field? Are there any certification that can help me? Yes, there are certain courses that you can take when it comes to shipping valuation. There are certain that you can do, right, to do with shipping, the ship valuation. And there are even reading material like textbooks as well. So if you Google search courses in ship valuation, you can find several institutions that can. And very soon, Taqiim, we've drafted a module that we are going to roll out in due course when we are ready to provide that, right? So right, someone is saying that is not true. Saudi is shipbuilding companies like International Maritime Industry in Ras Al Khaimah, the largest shipyard in the region, and Zamil Marine, which build small and medium vessels that are part of Vision 2020 to localize maritime. That is true. You are correct. You are correct. But what I was saying, I did not say it doesn't have. It has, but it does not meet the demand, right, to supply the region. For your information, to build a ship, it's not a 1 month thing or a 2 month thing. It takes 2, 4, 5 years to build a single vessel. So that's why there are moments where you require there's a demand for vessels and the supply is limited. That's where you find some of these operators, marine operators, going to other countries to look for the ship. Honestly, because of the Vision 2030, yes, they are localizing marine. It's part of the Vision 2020 to localize marine industries. And the Saudi Arabia is taking a lot of strides to ensure that this is fulfilled. You are right. Thank you very much for your observation. Potential risk when using the income approach to evaluate cargo ships and how can they be measured? Yes, what is important, this is the last question that we are going to have. What is important is for you to, when you are using cost approach, the best thing is to make sure that you have all the information to build up the cash flows of the particular vessel that you are dealing with. You need to know as well as the charter rates as well. You need to know the charter rates. You need relating to that type of vessel. So it's very, very important that you get to know that the charter rates, the expenses that relate to that kind of vessel that you are doing valuation. So the most important thing is to get that correctly, the revenues, the expenditures, in order to build the inflows and outflows of that income approach. And as well as you need to know how to determine the discount rates. It's very important. If you get the wrong discount rates, you might end up with the results which are not credible. So that is very, very important as well. So you need to know that the capital rates as well, the capitalization rates as well, you need to do them correctly and get all the necessary information. You can do it, but however, most of the challenges is how to get adequate information relating to that kind of vessel that you'll be dealing with. If you manage to get it, yes, you can go for it. So because of our time, I think we are ending here. But if you have any more questions, if you have further questions, you can contact us. We are on, Taqiim is on Twitter, that is on X, and it is also on LinkedIn. If you have any questions that you need to share, we are glad to respond to you. You can email us on pr@taqiim.gov.sa as well. You can do that as well. So thank you very much for joining us.